writer and a long-term human rights activist here in LA, although she's had a complex provenance. She's made 6 trips to the occupied Palestinian Territories and the West Bank. She's been to Iraq on Christian peacekeeper mission teams. She's a co-founder of the Free Gaza movement. That's the movement that started these little boats 3 years ago. And as I said, she was on that first boat that actually got into Gaza. She went to Cairo with the Gaza Freedom March in 2009. She was a member of the media team for the Gaza flotilla last year. And this year she was on the Canadian boat, the Tahir, which was in a port in Crete.
I just want to say, first of all, that I have a fellow passenger on the Free Gaza here, Kathleen, who was also with me. Passengers and crew who made it to Gaza. Thank you so much for arranging this today, and I just feel really privileged to be here with Yonatan. We never met before today. I imagined we would wave at each other across the Mediterranean, or we would be able to meet in Gaza. Yonatan was in Athens with the Audacity of Hope, and I was in Crete with the Canadian boat. I opted to go with the Canadian boat because I'm sort of an honorary Canadian. I'm a Canadian resident. I lived there several years, and I represented Canada on the first boat. We wanted to have as many countries represented, and not many people knew about us, and we didn't have a Canadian stepped up. So we wanted to fly as many flags as we could, and I said, okay, I'll fly the Canadian flag. So I thought it was appropriate to go back again on the Canadian boat. My background is nothing like Yonatan's. It's a much shorter journey for me. I'm a lot older than he is, but I came to this after I raised my son and retired. I had been interested for quite a while, but it was only after I retired that I decided during this intifada, when I saw the live coverage of that little boy hiding with his father and actually being shot and killed in front of my eyes, and I decided to go to Palestine. So a lot of you have heard all this before. It's not particularly dramatic, but that was what started me. I went to Palestine not thinking that I would ever want to go back, and I underestimated the power of Palestine. After I went the first time, every time anything happened in Gaza or in the West Bank, I just needed to be there. We decided to sail boats to Gaza only because we didn't know any other way to get back into Palestine. We weren't particularly thinking of Gaza, but there was so many of us who had been deported, imprisoned, arrested, just refused entry, and we wanted to go back to Palestine. So we formed a little group of people who couldn't go there any longer, and we did it all by email. We were all over the world, and we had this young man in Australia who said, well, why don't we just sail a boat? Which was kind of ludicrous, and of course we couldn't sail to the West Bank. The only possibility was Gaza. So it took us 2 years to raise enough money to buy these 2 little boats, and we did go, and it was amazing. We did not expect to get there, even until we saw the shores of Gaza. We didn't think we were going to get there because the Israelis told us very clearly they wouldn't let us pass, but we went anyway. And from that point on, I guess you just can't walk away. So I was in Cyprus several times as part of the land team with Free Gaza. We sent out several boats successfully. And then in December of 2008, when the Israelis attacked Gaza, invaded Gaza, they stopped us. First they rammed our boat. We had a very nice boat. They rammed it, and ultimately it sank. Fortunately, nobody died. They were tremendously fortunate. And we were able to get another boat, and they stopped that one and turned it back. And we would not have turned back so easily. I was in Cyprus along with my friend Karen. We were running the land team, but we had we had a cargo of medical equipment and medicines, but we also had doctors and journalists, because Israel would not let any journalists or medical personnel into Gaza while all of the killing was happening. So we had doctors from all over the world begging to get on the boat, and journalists also. So because of that, we didn't really want to stand up to the military. So when they made it very clear they would not let them pass, the captain decided to turn around and go back to Cyprus. And that's the only time we ever did that. So from that point on, then when we first went, our hope was, because we used up all our money, we were just a very small group of people, and we just hoped that maybe other people would be inspired. They would see that it's possible. We opened that door a little bit and hope that maybe people with bigger budgets and bigger boats might follow us. And actually, that's exactly what happened. People went by land, Viva Palestina. Several groups went overland through Rafah. Also, again, as Jeff mentioned, the Gaza Freedom March. We were not then able to get in. The Egyptians thwarted us then, and at that point, I think we felt that Mubarak was, being paid by the United States to do Israel's bidding, and so we didn't. A very small number of people got in, but we again felt that it was very successful. Then came the flotilla. I went to Cyprus to be on the flotilla, but 3 of our boats were sabotaged. One of them was not able to sail. It stayed behind in Cyprus. I was not able to get on the boat. I was one of a few people who didn't make it, but that was all right because I stayed behind and I was part of the media team for Free Gaza in Cyprus. And that turned out to be very important work because there were only 3 of us, and we had journalists from everywhere trying to find out what was happening after the massacre on the Mavi Marmara, which was big news, and we were the closest to it. So again, this year, the flotilla got bigger, and I actually wasn't going to participate because every time I do something like this, I say, well, that's it for me, I'm too old for this, and I'm not going to do that anymore. But as it got closer to the time of the boats going, I just started to think, I just got to get on a boat. And so I contacted the Canadians, and they, not really thinking there would be room for me because it was very, very late in the game, but they took me, and I was delighted to be on the Canadian boat. We were very lucky, by the way, because once the Mavi Marmara was dropped out, a couple of people that were on that boat came on the Canadian boat, and one was Amira Haas, and that was wonderful. She was just great. It was so great to have her on board our boat because we didn't have any stars on our boat, and Amira was kind of our star. She was just great. She was one of us. She did the affinity groups with us, the training, and because she was writing for Haaretz, she was able to get something in every day. So we got really, really great coverage in Haaretz, and it was great at the end when she was able to get on that little French boat that actually made it into the Mediterranean, and I think the Israeli Navy came out in force. Hundreds of people came out for that little tiny, as Amira called it, little bucket. And so they were able to stop that little boat and flex their muscle and one more time show how powerful they are. So that's really why I went, because I don't know how to stop going, really. And I came back and said, that's it. I'm done. But then this morning I had a Skype conference with my colleagues on the Canadian boat, and they're already talking about, okay, when's our next effort going to be? And of course I'm right up there.